distinction between Elohai, meaning higher, and Elohim. And over here, in the Seraphi families, some people are bringing out information that, you know, the Seraphim are all the bad guys. Then it kind of gets put over into the Seraphi family lines. Not all Seraphi family lines are negatively oriented. Only some of them are. Just like with the Elohai family lines, we had the Seraphi. Now, they were able to hold, they had something called the gold sun matrix, DNA matrix. It could hold 24 to 30 strands, flash line sequences, levels of consciousness. They were seeded primarily into the Arcturus and Andromeda galaxies in harmonic 4. And they created their own race lines, which became involved with ours later. Then there was a group of them, and this is the ones we're having big problems with these days. Okay, they're back. All right, the Seraphim, that again, just like the Elohim over there, decided we're going to run our own universe, don't want to cooperate with the higher guys anymore, created their own race strains. They unplugged their flashline sequences to get out from under the impulsing coming from their higher parts and reduce themselves to a 10-strand pattern, but at least they could rule in 10 dimensions of reality. When a being or a group of beings cuts off part of their flashline sequences, there's a little catch-22. They become finite unless they feed off other things. If you have your flashline sequences hooked up through the 15 dimensions and into the energy matrix, you have a perpetual supply of energy and consciousness moving through you. You are an eternal being. It's just continually recycling, changing form. You don't go away or disintegrate or reduce yourself into space dust for something else to use as creative fuel. When you sever the strands, you become a finite being that has to take energy from something else in order to self-sustain. That's what this group of Seraphim did. Now, these are in harmonic 4. These are avatars. They're liquid light, dark avatars. They created race strains down the harmonics, just like the good Seraphim, or Seraphi did, just like the convoluted Elohim did. And these guys aren't quite as messed up as these guys. Okay, the Seraphim are the ones that created the real big nasties, as we call them. The Elohim are like in between the two, and the Elohai are the ones who still retain the codes of ascension for the races. What the Seraphim created in the next harmonic first was one of the major things that have given us problems here. They were in the Orion star system, etheric matter density, and they were winged Dracon. They look like dragons with wings and tails. Like a lot of our devil mythology comes from a cellular imprint of understanding that race, because once upon a time they interacted here and they forcefully crossbred with humans to create a hybrid strain called the Dracos, which is actually focused in Nibiru right now and is starting to mess with this race again. They're back, and it's serious business. They have 10-strand, what's called the Black Sun DNA matrix. It's called the Black Sun because in order to have that independence that they created, they not only unplugged everything above 10 strands, they reversed the order of the fire letter sequences in the rest. They completely turn the consciousness inside out. They do not have the ability to plug into the rest of the dimensional scale, which gives them a consciousness that cannot cognate anything but itself and its own needs. If you ever looked in a shark's eyes, like on pictures and on TV, there's this blank stare there. These guys are eating machines, okay? You can go up to a shark and say, you know, I'm a really special being and it's really not a good idea to eat me. Do you think it's going to care? It has no cognition level to have compassion or to think about you in that form. You are just fuel that it is biologically driven to consume. This is the level of consciousness, but amplified by 11 or 10 dimensions that you're dealing with the Draconian matrix. It's an avatar matrix of liquid light beings that are majorly screwed up, okay? I'll put it in very loose slang down here. Very twisted consciousness. They need more help than anybody in the time matrix. They are so stuck here that they have had to turn themselves into the epitome of evil just to self-sustain, where they will suck energy off anything they can get their claws into or their flashline sequences hooked into, just to self-sustain themselves. At some point when we evolve, and the ones that are in higher evolution are trying to help these guys to get their coding back, because if they get their flashline sequences back, they start to get more and more of that energy supply coming from source. But they are still in such a twisted frame of consciousness that they're afraid of the higher light. They're afraid of connecting with their rishi. And in their fear, just to survive, they have to consume. So it's like a very ancient drama that's still going on today. When we get down into what they created a reptilian version of Annunaki, but they didn't create the first Annunaki. This is where you get over here. Back over to the Elohai families. Remember, the Elohai families in the next harmonic, down harmonic 3, created various things. One of the first things in the hominid forms they created was the Lyran Syrian Anahazi. They were the ones that held the codes of ascension. I'll just refer to those flashline sequences, the right DNA patterns that get you all the way up as the codes of ascension, because that's what it's all about here. Evolution is about restructuring the codes of ascension so you get full mastery over manifesting and demanifesting wherever you want in the 15-dimensional time matrix and the energy matrix beyond it. Okay, so we have the Anahazi in harmonic 3. At the same time, down in harmonic 3, the digressive Elohim family, who didn't have any more than 11 flashline sequences anymore, created a version of itself in harmonic 3 called the Anu. This is where we get the stories that are popping up these days in the ancient histories about the Anu races. And there's a lot of mythology from the Syrian star system primarily involved with Anu, and Anu was a god and all these kind of things.